Live here. Okay. Hello. This is Mocha Mommy here. We're here with Lizzie Rance, and
Hey
we're just going to
everyone.
talk about, yeah, we're just going to talk a little bit about our military experience. We'll leave this live up, and you guys can put questions in the comment section, so that we'll be able to answer those questions if you guys have any questions about the military. So, Lizzie, do you want to start? Talk a little bit about your military experience. You can keep it general because I know we want to protect privacy, but do you have anything you want to start with?
Yeah, so I'm probably going to be like, I know you recommend that you know military is like a way for upward mobility, and honestly it was for me. um I do want to touch on, I'm going to touch on like the negative sides of it as well, and I'm sure you will too, because you've seen
Yeah.
plenty, probably more than me. um because you were an officer, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So I was enlisted. When I joined, I was PF3 because I had some college credits, and I went to training boot camp, and I was supposed to be going to some place called Relaxing Jackson, but apparently my drill sergeants did not get that memo that we were supposed to be relaxing, because they tortured us, especially like the first month. It was yeah,
Yeah.
it was a lot. But when I first arrived there, like I think my past experiences with like adversity and having lived through like a civil war kind of prepared me, because I was like, oh, this is, after the first day, I was like, this is nothing. I'm literally being paid to work out and learn how to shoot and stuff like that.
Right.
So like at first I was, I the first day I cried in my bunk after the first day, because we did an obstacle course right off, after dropping our stuff off in our barracks, straight to the obstacle course. We were wearing our boots that weren't even broken in yet, so I had blisters, so my tears were more from pain. Like my entire body was sore. I was away from my family for like the first time ever, and it was just a lot emotionally that first day. But then like after that first day, I was like, okay, I'm just here. I know what I need to do. I know I'm here because they offered me a $20,000 bonus. They're paying me to do this. It's not like I'm being tortured for free. Um, I think one of my biggest issues that I had during training was other Black women. For some
Yeah.
reason, I had, especially the Black women who were drill sergeants. Now, I didn't have them as my drill sergeants, but as the males can't regulate the female barracks. So obviously, the women drill sergeants had to, and they had favoritism. We later found out they were fraternizing with the male soldiers. It was just a whole mess. So I tended to stay away from them. My male drill sergeants, one was this Pacific Islander dude, and he was really chill. The other dude were Black men that just loved yelling at and screaming at you to get you. Because I'm tiny. I'm like 5'4", and at the time, I think I lost so much weight in training. I think I was like 120, which is a really, like, I know people think 5'4", 120, that's a good proportionate, but it really wasn't for me. So I was really tiny, and they would use their voice, their presence to try to intimidate me, but they respect you more when you don't allow them to intimidate you. And then after that, I was stationed in different places. I was in Nebraska because I was reserves for a while. I was in for a total of 6 years. So I was reserved for about 3, and then active duty for about 3. And I was in Nebraska for my reserves. I was in El Paso for the most part for my active duty. And it was fine, you know, other than them warning us not to go into Tijuana, because if we got arrested, they weren't coming for us. I ended up in Afghanistan for 6 months. And that was a terrible experience. But overall, I had a good experience. My education was paid for. I still ended up with some student loans, but you know, overall would have been a lot worse if I didn't join. So that's pretty much the gist of my story.
Hi, Yogo.
Hi, ladies. How are y'all?
Hi. Well, I'm
Hello.
so glad you were able to join us. So we were just all talking a little bit about our military experience. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your military experience?
Okay, so I'll admit I've only done a few panels ever, so I'm gonna try to do this the best way I can. So just bear with me, specifically when I'm talking
We're
about
really
my.
glad you're here.
Yeah, I'm glad too because I was like, wait, what? I thought but we got that all handled. So I'm here. So let's see. Okay, I guess I'll just say that um, I'm Air Force or was Air Force. I enlisted as a ooh, wow. I'm trying to remember. It hasn't even been that long, but I'm trying to remember. Wow. E3. I believe it's E3. Yeah, so I enlisted in the Air Force as an E3 because I had some credits, some college credits, so they allowed me to do it that way. Um, and yeah, I'm trying to just think of how to go about this. Apologies. So it's just, are we just kind of talking about what made us join or when we start or?
Exactly. What made you join and what branch you were in, how long you were in, and just your
Oh,
general experience, your general takeaway.
okay. Um, so I joined because I went to college first. So I know a lot of times people join right out of high school, but I ended up actually doing a little bit of work first, and then I went to college and got my degree. But once I did that, I worked in my field for only a short amount of time until I realized that, hey, I want to need something a little bit more stable to mold me over until I can do this for real. Only because the job I was entering in was fairly competitive. So what I ended up doing was just enlisting, and my initial plan was just to kind of go in and then leave and do what I needed to do. So so that's another thing. So yeah, I went in enlisted. Um, Even though I had a degree, I wasn't at the time. I had a lot of self doubt about going the if I even could do the officer route, even though I had family members who were officers. So I guess I just had a little self doubt there. But in hindsight, and just to everybody whoever has the opportunity, I would still say, just believe in yourself and pick the best route for yourself. But yeah, so then I joined and I went into the Air Force. Um, and I was actually told to go into the Air Force, even though most of my family is actually Army, so that was a little bit unique there. But I think
Hmm.
yeah, they had personal reasons for that. I think it was just kind of the culture of women in certain branches at that time. So I think in their mind they felt like, listen, if you get the opportunity to go into the Air Force, but obviously, like I'm still gonna, I have to rep both. So there's that. Um, and goodness, I am rambling, but this is just strange to me because I think I never realized how I don't speak too much about my military service. And it's not because I'm not proud or anything. I think because I had certain experiences there too, and like I said, I don't regret it, but I think I don't think back in my head oftentimes about what happened and my experiences. So I think that's another reason why I wanted to join this panel too, so I could see like why is that the case, because it's something I'm proud of. But anyway,
Yeah.
I'm depending that for now until I get my thoughts collected a little better.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. I'm really glad you ended up joining the panel because like you said, the Air Force, and I feel like that's just like what you said with women and Black women in particular. Always want to talk about Air Force, Air Force, Air Force as if that's the only branch, not realizing that really depending on what you do, who you are, and what your goals are, that might not always be the best thing. And I know, like, being Army, I do know for a fact that the Air Force did have a quote unquote easier PT test, right? They had better pay for the lower enlisted ranks. They had a lot better living situation because if an Air Force airmen lived on an Army base, they would get something called a substandard living allowance. So yeah, there was always that perception that the Air Force was better, but it might not necessarily always be the case. Now, I grew up at a time where, like, we were kind of like coming out of the Clinton White House, going into the Bush White House, and retired General Colin Powell was a big deal. He was a big deal. So he did talk a lot about Black officers, the need for Black officers in ROTCs. And I was a student athlete. I was not really getting picked up to run for any schools. And that opportunity presented itself. And so I went to Howard on an ROTC scholarship. And I can honestly say that at that time, I would definitely say like Howard, FAMU, and Grambling were definitely responsible for like a lot of the Black officers you see, because the military academy was really strict, really competitive. And at that time was very much about legacy. And a lot of Black people didn't have that legacy. So unlike now, where it's definitely embraced a lot more inclusion, and even though it's not perfect, it's embraced a little bit more inclusion. But I definitely know that things like student loan repayment and just being medical in general, I think we have a way different experience than most people, men, women, officer, enlisted, being medical in the Army. It's almost like you are a very protected class, even during deployments, because of a lot of the equipment you handle, your job specialty. And even though it's really still challenging, Afghanistan was challenging for me, Iraq was challenging for me, I do know my privilege. I do know that I was always on the nicer fobs. I do know that I always pretty much had air conditioning and plumbing. So yeah, I definitely know that military medicine, we are a very protected class. And I will honestly say that.
Yeah, it's a whole nother world, even on the Air Force side. Like I wasn't medical, but I feel like medical in general is their own little world.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I remember thinking, of course, too, thinking the Air Force was privileged, because I remember when I was at like Fort Hood or Fort Sam Houston in Texas, Wilford Hall out there off of Randolph Air Force Base in San Antonio, those doctors had name brand drugs, and they would, and when we would do like surgeries or emergency room procedures, they would ask for things by name brand. I'm like, what is he talking about? When you would scrub for them. And it's because they had it like that. And we always thought Air Force was a little bit more privileged, but I would not change my experience. Even all of the challenges that I had gone through, I would not change those experiences for anything. Because being active and then going reserve up until retirement, I know that even all of the, pardon my language, bullshit I had to deal with is worth it now. It's so worth it now. Can you
Right.
guys say that you can look? Yeah.
I was just gonna
Go
say,
ahead,
for
Liz.
me, I think that's one of the things that I regret that I didn't have a chance to do, because I was injured in Afghanistan and I had to get a medical discharge. So I had been planning on staying in for the whole at least 20 years, because I know the benefits that come with it. Because I had already committed to 8, and I was like, okay, what's 8? If I can do another 8 years, that's 16, and then just another 4 for 20. I worked it out in my head. So if you do join the military and you do find that you're getting some benefits from it, don't if you encounter challenges, find allies, figure out a way to navigate them, because I guarantee you, staying in, if you're not suffering, I promise, if you are suffering, please get out. If it's too much for you, please get out. But if you know you can handle it, stay in the full 20. There are so many benefits that come with that. But that was all I was going to say.
So, I mean, did they work it out for you to get like VA disability and all that stuff?
I fought the VA for a few years, and then honestly, I kind of just gave up, because they were basically like, oh, the injury wasn't permanent, so you're eligible for temporary disability, but not permanent. And I think it's made difficult for some people almost intentionally, because
Mm-hmm.
the benefits are so scarce that I feel like they I don't view the VA as like some evil government entity. I think they're working with what they have, and
Right.
sometimes there are soldiers who have more priority than you. And sometimes you get put on the back burner, and that's what happened to me. And I kind of just gave up after a while, because it was just I was putting more effort into it than I needed to. So I just found another avenue to make money.
Yeah. I mean, I know like that is a real big fight. And I feel like now, I mean, my older sister would see all of the challenges that even my spouse went through the VA. And she was in North Carolina at the time. She literally drove down to Fort Bragg from her place in Durham and said, "Hey, do you guys need any physicians?" And it turns out that's one of the things that help her start her own business, was because they hired her as a contractor on the spot to do a backlog of all the PTSD claims. So you're thinking that this is going to be just like a couple of months. No, it was a 2.5 year assignment just to take care of the backlog of
Wow.
VA claims. Yeah.
Goodness.
She made some great money. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, um, yeah, like, so I said that medical being a protected class, but also like the straight backlog of just VA claims. And sometimes they do make it so difficult, especially depending on what state you're from. Because Texas, I feel like they'll do anything for Texans because their biggest military bases are in Texas. And Texas is such a military friendly um, place. And Roadrunner 89 is right. DAV does definitely advocate for you. So thank you, Roadrunner 89, for adding that. But yeah, it was a definitely like, I feel like the VA was made challenging so that some people wouldn't file claims. So yeah. Yogo, what about you? Did you walk away with any injuries, anything, or do you ever still have to deal with the VA or anything? Oh, Yogo? Okay. Well, my experience, I was did my bachelor's in nursing and went all the way through. Um, was in Ramadi, Iraq. That was a really, really challenging situation to be such a young nurse, um, and seeing all of that um, through that cash there, the combat area support hospital there. That was a lot to deal with, and to think that I'm a 66 hotel, which is like a emergency room nurse. So yeah, and the thing, my surgeon was like 28. So I'm like 22 and he's like 28, and we're both
Wow.
kids. And the thing about it was, after that tour, he was going to be tapped to be the brigade surgeon. So that just goes to show you how young military medicine is.
Right.
So when you don't see like doctors and nurses who have 10, 15, 20 years experience. You rarely see that. So it's a lot of inexperience that you see in military medicine. And I definitely, looking back at it, I see that. If you did see someone who was older, usually they were like a reservist who would get activated, like the military maybe paid for
Right.
your patient, and then you have to pay them back. And a lot of times they would be pissed when they got activated because you're making about 300,000 in your practice as a civilian. You get activated and you're making like 70, 75.
Right.
And yeah. So they would get angry during that time, during the height of the war, like in the early and mid 2000s. Because, especially like a 15-month tour would just really ravage them and they would be bitter about it. But at the same time, they did give me a lot of really great learning experience. So
Did you have any experience with stop loss? I had a lot of people in my unit with that experience.
uh yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. Um just
I guess
because
we should explain what stop loss is first.
okay, yeah, stop loss is when you have a definitive discharge date and then they say no, never mind. You have to stay and finish another tour of duty or finish an obligation. And that's one of the main reasons why I went into the reserves, because at the time we had our first child after my second deployment. And reserve kind of protected us a bit more from stop loss, because we were still say like, hey, I'm still in here, and my other unit needs me. And even if they only need you 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year, you still, oh, Roadrunner 89 says he had 2 tours in Ramadi. And Ramadi was, yeah, you're never the same after that. Like, you're never the same after Ramadi. Too many young, promising 22, 23-year-olds died, lost limbs, and never came back the same. So yeah, I
Yeah.
can relate. But it was, yeah, but also too, that being medical, that protected class. So what was your job in the Army?
So I was a 42 Alpha Human Resources, and then I had a second one, which was, I think, was it 25 Golf, which was like mail or like post office. So what I was doing there was, the same stuff I was doing back home with payroll, um, introducing, or basically orientating new soldiers, discharge paperwork, all that. But when I was over there, I was tasked with delivering mail from base to base, which puts you in danger a lot since you're driving on these roads, which you don't know when you're going to get attacked, get hit by an IED. It's always, Russian roulette when you're going out there, especially at the height of the war in freaking 2009. So,
Yeah,
so I, that was what made me nervous because my recruiter straight up lied to me. And that's another thing that I feel like we should address too, but I'll, digress right for now. But my recruiter was like, because I was in there with my mom, I was 20 years old, I'd never been away from her at all. And she's like, is she gonna have to go to war? Is she gonna have to do all this? And he's like, oh no, her office is an office job. She won't need to be over there. Those are the people that are actually fighting. A whole liar. And I did not know anything about, what the military entailed and, the type of people that do get deployed and that they do need human resource personnel over there, no matter, what's going on over there, whether it's peacetime or wartime. So he lied. I ended up there, and it was just, I think the PTSD for me mainly came from the fear of not knowing what's going to happen the next day, or hearing about an attack and then losing friends and all of that. It was just something that I really didn't have the capacity to confront. So I just kind of buried it, which is where a lot of PTSD I feel like comes from in the military, is
True.
people have to bury it, especially I feel like it's more put on the men to bury it, but I feel like overall it's the culture of the military. So it was hard for me to confront it, but luckily I have like I said, previous experience with PTSD, previous experience with knowing I need to go to therapy to confront it. So I was able to get myself some help eventually.
Yeah, I can definitely say like during the height of the war, no one was safe. I mean, you could be my first CAB was the combat action badge was in 2008 doing humanitarian aid, helping kids with typhoid, and our convoy came under attack. So yeah, nobody was safe, and your gunner could easily be somebody from human resources or somebody from supply.
We
You know,
had that. We had that.
yeah,
One of the guys that I actually went to AIT with, he was our gunner, and to this day, he's still not okay.
right, of course. And a lot of times, even the medical community didn't really know what we were dealing with either. Um, and it's like, I mean, I remember giving people from the pharmacy, like just giving them Prozac and be like, okay, and then, go back to duty. Like we literally were doing that. Giving people Prozac and saying go back. But then, there's some people who really wanted it because that was the only way they were supporting their family. And also because they were so close to retirement, they didn't want to get out and have to go fight the VA. Um, th- there were some people who, it was their family's tradition. So there was a lot that was going on. And yeah, the Army community can be crazy, like Kayla says, but at the same time, so can the Wall Street community. So can the community. So can
Right. It's the
any
difference.
community. Yeah. And just it really depends on what you're trying to get out of it. And you got to really stay focused. I can honestly say I got quite a bit out of it. It helped me buy my first home. It helped me get my graduate degree and plenty of certifications that even though I didn't want them, like I didn't want to be a clinical data manager, but at Fort Sam Houston, like, hey, we need clinical data manager and captain such and such, you're it. Um, or, you'd be in a reserve unit and they'd be like, hey, we have to support some unit out in Arizona, or somebody responding to wildfires, and you'd be tapped to go for that. So you just have to make sure you keep your goals in mind for sure.
Definitely, because it's hard. It's easy to get derailed, and it's easy to get just down on yourself because of a lot, especially if you ended up in a war zone that you never thought you would end up in. It's easy to get distracted by the things that are going on. But like Mokomami said, if you keep your goals intact and you know your vision, where you're trying to get, and you have a plan, you won't have an issue getting there. The military, I feel like as long as you keep your head down, you don't try to cause too much. Like, listen, I had some people on my unit who were trying to change like military culture, who were trying to
Yeah.
like change the men, and I'm just like, you're not, that's not gonna happen. We are such a small, like, women in the military, we're not that that large in number. Okay, it's still a male dominated field, and we're not going to be able to change that anytime soon. So I didn't understand why women were trying to change it. I would say keep your head down and don't ruffle any feathers. And as long as you're not being harmed, or you're not seeing other people being harmed, you're fine.
So, I mean, I have two teenage girls, and I don't, I know that you guys don't. I know that you don't have children, Lizzie, but Yogo, I don't know if you do. But what would you tell your daughter if she were talking to you about the military? What would you tell your daughter? Because I know, Yogo, you kind of went in a little bit in the comment section about what your mother told you, but what would you tell your daughter?
Is she still with us? She tried to talk earlier and her connection cut out.
Oh, okay. But what would you tell your daughter, Lizzie? What would you tell her?
So if I had a well, I have an 18-year-old sister, and I'm actually considering speaking to her about the military because she kind of doesn't have an idea what she wants to do right now. She's kind of listless and just um like not, like I said, not knowing what to do with her life. And what I want to suggest to her is to join either the Army, the Air Force, or the Coast Guard, because I feel like people kind of, forget about the Coast Guard sometimes. I had an ex that was in the Coast Guard, a lot of benefits in that branch of the military. So I'm going to suggest to her to research it for herself, look and see if there's any job that she would be willing to do for the military to get paid. I'm going to try to encourage her to go into a medical field of some sort, because those usually transition very well into civilian life. So that's what I'm doing right now. I used to think, because of some of the experiences that women dealt with in the military, that it I used to suggest people don't go, or if a certain person was president, I would say don't join. Um, but I've changed my mind on that because a lot of things are dwindling job wise, especially for Black people. So I think military should be a viable option, especially if you take the reserves route, because as a reservist, you can always change your status to active duty if you want to. So it's I'm suggesting that right now. And I do suggest that a lot of young women, especially if you don't know what you want to do, instead of going to college, um, I would suggest, and getting loans and stuff, I would suggest going to get paid to live for free, basically. Because if you're active duty, everything you have is paid for.
Right.
And you can take that 4 years to save literally every cent that you have and be so well off, even if you leave after 4 years, So that's me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I know I talked about it with my oldest daughter. Um, and I would say be like your aunt Angie and join the Navy. I just feel like she has so much of a better experience because even during the
Mhm.
height of the war, the Navy, other than like the corpsmen, you really didn't see them much on anywhere in the Middle East. So
That's true.
yeah, so and also the Navy spends more educating their service members than any other branch, and they're larger than the Air Force, not as large as the Army, but there's so much more choices of jobs and careers. So that would be the advice that I would give my daughter, like yeah, join the Navy. So and and then now even one of the ladies at my church, her daughter was thinking the same thing. I was like, before you commit to the Air Force, just talk to the Navy recruiter first. And wouldn't you know, the enlistment bonus was double what the Air Force was offering,
Right.
and they have her specialty. And she is now a homeowner in Pensacola. So, and that's amazing. A condo in Pensacola is something that will always pay. I mean, as close it is to the base and as close it is to tourism, she will be set for the rest. She used that bonus to pay for our condo. And it's like, and she's 22, 23. Yeah, I definitely would suggest that to do that. So hold on, I have a question in the chat and it says, what about someone who wants to go into therapy? Okay, honestly, depends on what kind of therapy you're talking about. Are there mental health professionals in the military? Yes, both officer and enlisted. And if you are going to do therapy, you should do the military simply because therapy does not pay. Therapy does not pay. Like my older sister wanted to be a psychologist. I want to be a psychologist. And somebody pulled her aside and said, don't do that. You do not want this psychology major. You want a chemistry. Psychology should be your minor. Chemistry should be your major. And go be a psychiatrist if you're that passionate about mental health. There are way too many, not trying to be offensive, there are way too many Black women with psychology and mental health degrees that are earning less than 60 grand a year. And I would not suggest that. So if you do want to do therapy, you're going to have to get somebody to pay for it because your loans will not pay themselves back. That's one of the degrees that does not pay for itself. So if you want to do something with mental health, the military is your best bet because in order to even be a psychologist, you have to go all the way up to master's and then get an additional licensing process. So people with MBAs or people with bachelor, I'm seriously, dead serious. Some of the nurses that I trained at the associate's level earn more than a lot of clinical psychologists. Dead serious.
Oh, wow.
There are nurses, ADNs, associate's degrees of nursing, who are earning more than your clinical psychologists and don't have the loans. So, morbid Dom, that would be my suggestion to you. Not because I'm trying to be mean, but I'm trying to be honest. So if you don't see yourself going to medical school for psychiatric medicine, but you're passionate about therapy, definitely do the Army. Go all the way up to as much as they'll pay for, or the Navy, and go up to as much as they'll pay for, and then you can walk right into that VA or military defense contracting system. Because what Lockheed Martin and some of these other defense contractors are paying their psychologists to handle some of their claims is pretty good money. But again, you have to have that little inside connection to do those PTSD claims. So yeah, for sure, the military is going to be your best bet.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Most psychologists don't make much money, and they're overworked because there's so much demand. But they're also they're also put in a position where they can't have any upward mobility. Especially, if you're living in states like California, New York, they're very expensive to live. Seattle, Washington State, very expensive. So you can't live off of something like that. You can't, especially if you have a family.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's just, I think we have to really start having the conversations a lot like the Asians do and say, you're not going to do this because you're not going to earn money. Oh, hold on. Let's turn that off. Yeah, but we have to start having those conversations with our girls.
Yeah. I was actually going to ask you for some advice because so when I was in a nursing program, and I was going to a private nursing school that was very expensive, but it was the only one at the time that didn't have a waiting list. But I wasn't particularly passionate about nursing. It was honestly pushed on me by my mother, but I do want to be in medicine, just not in that capacity, because I feel like it's too stressful for me. It triggers me a lot. So if I want to be in medicine, and right now I'm in behavioral health, I help young girls who are in group home situations that have multiple psychological problems, but I also don't want to be a psychiatrist. I don't want to be pushing pills on people. I don't want to be I honestly don't think I could handle hearing people's problems.
Right.
On a daily basis, trauma all the time, which would be my specialty if I did go into psychiatry, because I have so much experience with trauma just in my own personal life. I can relate to a lot of it. But I don't feel like that would be beneficial for me psychologically. So
Right.
if you have any recommendations on even how to begin, because I'm honestly starting, I've had so many issues with mental health issues, that 2020 was almost like my starting point at 34, like starting over. So
Right.
for
Right.
us older women who have had issues just navigating life and are now ready to like move forward, what would you suggest?
Well, to a lot of the soldiers that I had in reserve unit, and also to when I was a clinical instructor, one of the reasons why I stepped away from just being a nursing clinical instructor to like helping with like all the allied health is because there are so many options in allied health that I feel a lot of people didn't know about. The unsung heroes of this pandemic have been the respiratory therapists and the lab technicians. How many times have lab technicians? I mean, one of the young girls I mentor started out doing nursing, realized it wasn't for her, but since she had so many prerequisites, for her to go over to clinical lab management, it was perfect for her because she had that analytical mind. She had the right skill set, and even though she didn't make as much money as a nurse, she still made pretty great money. At the point in time when our country was running 300,000 COVID tests a day, trust me, sis got broke off.
Right.
Respiratory therapists, same thing. They were running the ventilators. Also, a lot of your health informatics, they did very well. And a lot of them were able to work from home. So don't sleep on all of the other x-ray technicians. We're still taking chest x-rays multiple times. And one person I'm working with is an x-ray technician. I'm hoping that I can get her to come onto the platform and speak with her experience as an x-ray technician. That's another phenomenal job that has a lot of great avenues. So just allied health in general, because I would have like a lot of 68 whiskeys, the combat medics, who were always asking about that. And I would say, hey, don't hesitate to look at some of the other parts in allied health. And also, I didn't realize how much 68 mics, the medical equipment repair, I didn't realize how much they made in the civilian. I was wondering why we never had any like 68 mics that will pass E5. Like, why all the 68 mics, E4s, E5s, E3s, never really would see too many. And then you would see like their NCO that they would report to, the E6, the staff sergeant, would be a 68 whiskey. Why? Because mics, you can keep them in. Because Phillips, Draeger, Marquette, Fisher Paykel would pay those guys hand over fist coming out of the military for that experience. So don't think that nursing is all that they have to enter. Dental hygienist, that was another one we had a hard time keeping. Dental hygienist. That was another thing. But the only thing I would say for military medicine, don't be afraid to moonlight a little bit, because so much of the population we serve is between 18 and 45. We come to the civilian medical field at a disadvantage because we've never done any chronic disease management. Like now I'm still doing like urgent care and emergency room simply because I really don't know how to manage diabetes. I really don't know how to manage heart disease. I really don't know. I know very little about like metformin clinics and Lipitor prescriptions, and because I've never had to deal with it. My medical population has been so young. And the same thing with dentistry. You're great at wisdom teeth extractions because how many 22-year-olds have impacted wisdom teeth in the military? But yet when it comes to these like geriatric periodontal diseases, you're at a little bit of a disadvantage. So if you are going to do military medicine, be aware of that. And this question by Dark and Lovely, financial options for a veteran's child who is entering a graduate therapy program. That's going to depend on every state. Texas, we have the Hazelwood Act, but my children are not eligible because I did not join in the state of Texas. So each state is going to have different options. Different military affiliated organizations are going to have different options, but the military itself does not pay for your children's education unless you have transferred your GI Bill to that dependent, or you are still actively an active duty soldier, and that child is still able to use some of your like Army College Fund or Army tuition assistance. So just for that. And finance management. That question. I would say if you want to do finance, even if you get like a finance MOS or a finance like officer identification, definitely use it to pay for your education. But know that sometimes you might not end up doing that particular job while you're in the military, but know that your education can be paid for and you can walk into a lot of government finance positions, Social Security, Government Office of Accounting, IRS, and you will have a priority. So that's one of the best things too about being in the military, that priority you get for defense contracting and government jobs. And that can also help you, if you didn't do the whole 20 years and you did like the TSP, did you participate in TSP, Lizzie?
No, I didn't.
All right. So TSP is like the thrift savings program where works a little bit like a 401k where you put money away towards your retirement. And if you decide 20 years is it for you, you can transfer that into your government TSP. So if you're a GS worker, so yeah, that's another benefit of that. Now, my spouse did not go through ROTC. He got a direct commission. And he got out of baseball, didn't want to be broke, went to college for math because that was his best subject. English was his second language. Went to college for math and then ended up getting a direct commission to do like reconnaissance, military intelligence type of work. And that's how he ended up in IT because of those, because he was able to pass those background checks. And yes, Aaliyah, this live is going to stay up. And but the downside about that, if you are going to do like those military intelligence jobs, understand that if you're working on a classified mission, you can't put that on your resume and you don't have a lot of references.
Exactly.
So you don't go into government contracting, you could have a lot of gaps. So what happened with my husband was that he had to go back to school. Fortunately, he had a GI Bill. He had to go back to school and get all of those IT certifications. Of course, he comes out like graduating with honors, cum laude, because he knew all of that stuff already. And they're like, how did you know this technology is so new? And he's like, oh, I'm just good at it. Because I mean, spyware, military have been doing a lot of that stuff that's happening with your cell phones now with the spyware. They were doing that back in like 2004. Make no mistakes about it. Exactly. They've been, so of course you go to school and you find out like, how are you so good at this? Oh, because you can't say how you knew it. So
right,
yeah, it was how he ended up where he wanted. Yeah.
Is he so is he in like cybersecurity? Because that's something I'm interested in. That's something I'm researching, like how to get certified, because I can't afford to go to school. I can't afford to go to college, but I can afford certifications.
Right. Yeah.
So and if you know this, or if you have to ask him for me, would certifications be enough to get in?
Yes.
Or do I need a degree?
No, you definitely can get in with certifications. Just make sure you go to the right school and really vet and ask them about what they offer as far as like job placement and things like that. Because some schools are better than others at job placement when it comes to certifications because of the connections they have. So some like your for-profit schools or whatever, some of them don't have the best connections, and some of them do have really great connections because maybe somebody who worked there worked for Hewlett or worked for Norton or worked for, Dell, and they have connections. So those are important questions to ask. But from what I understand, the thing that everybody's looking for is AWS and SQL. There are not enough of those. And that's like database management.
So
like cloud
SQL.
infrastructure.
So you said SQL and AWS?
Like that cloud
Okay.
management, data management, basically spying on people still, like, how Target does with algorithms and managing like who buys what, where, and,
Right.
all the like of it. Yeah. So that's where the real demand is right now, that he's saying, even sometimes even more than the security aspect would be the management of the data and the storage of the data.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Because
Yeah.
like I was literally, because I've been thinking about doing it for a few years now, because I did fraud detection for a credit union company where it was
Mhm.
hundreds of credit unions where we monitored accounts, and I loved that job. Loved it.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
it was so versatile, and every day you went in there was a different problem to solve, because I hate being bored. I hate boring jobs. I've had so many careers because I get bored easily. So I want to find something where I don't have to keep moving around. And I looked into cybersecurity. So I got in with the fraud detection. So I do have about like 7 years experience in fraud detection. So I do have something under my belt, which is why I want to use that as, to spring myself into, a higher paying place, because customer service does not pay either.
Right. But did you know that the finance industry hires more people in IT than Silicon Valley?
No, I didn't.
I remember at Howard, no kidding, when people were graduating, they were all working for like Goldman and Sachs, Lehman Brothers. This is before this, what was the other big one that was hiring them? Chase, JP Morgan, right? Like all your
Mhm.
IT people were going into finance because e-commerce is everything now. So if you can mix finance and IT, I guarantee you now, if you look at a bank right now, if you look at a bank right now and you look at the positions that are hiring, they are mostly IT because
Right.
and
I've noticed that.
yeah, and those are the people who hire my husband's company, software company. They're the ones who want the custom software packages for, you know, that's yeah, like that finance and technology. And what these guys are making from the house, they're not even leaving the house. It's ridiculous. Like I'm saving people's lives, and I would say that to my husband. Like I'm saving people's lives. You just watching people money, and you make way more than I do. And he goes, "That's what you get for being nice." Like serious, because both of us, did see a significant boost during this pandemic. With my job and with his, because everybody was working now remotely. Everybody had to secure networks. A lot of storefronts, brick and mortar stores had to have e-commerce sites. So they needed cybersecurity. So again, that was his job. And he saw a big boost. Um, and he saw a huge boost, even more than I was getting with like hazard pay or COVID pay or incentivized shifts pay. He was making way more than, not like there's a competition, but because he's always been the
Right.
primary breadwinner. Yeah, I just was like, it just goes to show you what our society values. Like I can go out there and save a life, and he makes more than twice as much as I did just from watching some rich guy's money.
Right. I'm saying it's so backwards, but I I see that. I recommend all the time to other Black women to go into either finance or cybersecurity or anything like technological, because honestly, technological or medical, because those two are going to be the biggest hirings. Those I feel like those are the main two jobs that can't go away. That can't be, you know, that can't be what is it, robotized, whatever that word is, they won't
Automated,
be able
yeah.
to yeah, they won't be able to replace you with robots.
Yeah.
Eventually I'm sure AI will get to the point where a machine can watch your money, but most people are not comfortable with that. They want a human being that they trust watching their money. So it would make sense to move in that direction.
Yeah, it does make a lot of sense to move in that direction. But oh, I see she dropped off. But at the same time, I see I'm getting a question about, do you recommend an online coding class? The answer is no. If you're already in IT and you have a company that's paying for it, absolutely. Do I recommend you take an online coding class if you're new? Absolutely not. Why? Because who you know is going to be just as important, if not more important, than what you know. So, therefore, I would not recommend going to online classes. I would recommend in person classes. And then I would recommend talking to their career service department, their job, whoever does job placement, because your adjunct professors, believe it or not, are some of your biggest, strongest advocates. Are your is that's your biggest advocates. Sometimes your adjunct professors. So yeah,
Oh,
I would not go
I do
online
have
only.
something. Oh, Mokomami, sorry about that. I got cut off. But I'm gonna place a link in the chat. That is hold on. Or I'm gonna put it in the comments because if I try to go, I don't have it saved on my paste button. But I'm gonna put it in the chat, and it is a program that Goldman Sachs just put up for 10,000 women for free courses on finance, on cybersecurity, on everything that you could possibly need to learn. They're
Right.
all free. They're offered at almost every corner of the world, since Goldman Sachs is in almost, especially in the West. So if any of you are interested in that, I will leave that in the comments.
Thank you for that. And for self-love, would I propose Navy and not active for someone who doesn't have a goal and does not want to and wants to travel? If you do not have a goal, go active. Like if you have no kids, no responsibilities, go active. Simply because it's so much more opportunity for you. And yes, please go active if you are indecisive, because reserves will still be there. And yeah, you want to get as much experience as you can. So please, definitely consider active travel, get that money, save that money. And it's not uncommon for Navy sailors to go off on a sea tour for 7 months and come back with an associate's. That is not uncommon for them. So if you want to do Navy, go active, get all of your gen eds out of the way. Travel, they have much better places to go. I mean, my sister-in-law, she went to places like Spain and Japan, and I'm in like bomb holder Germany and in Afghanistan. You know what I mean? I would have to pay to go to Spain. No,
Right.
she got vacation destinations for her duty stations. Hawaii, and I'm sitting over here
Yeah.
in
I was
Blitz.
salty over Hawaii, Mokomami. I was so salty. I was so salty. I'm like, you guys could have given me an assignment there. But like I said, I was dating somebody who was stationed there, so I still got to go a
Right,
lot. So,
right, yeah. And
but what was your sister's MOS?
my sister-in-law in the Navy,
Her sister-in-law, yeah.
yeah, so she started out like just like doing machinery, and then ended up a paralegal.
Oh
So
wow.
gonna ride it. Yeah. So she's gonna ride this all the way through for her 20 years because she has a desk job now with the reserve unit. She's home with her kids, but she's still drilling with her reserve unit. So yeah, and that was, and I had suggested that to her. I was like, don't get out, stay in the reserves, because you can stay with your kids, still get money. And that's the secret of like stay at home moms. I'm going to do that too. It's like stay at home moms. That's the secret. These stay at home moms. So don't think for 1 minute like I gotta get my man that makes this much money, honey. You can. What some of these stay at home moms are pulling down, you will be surprised. So
exactly. I don't know why people think stay-at-home moms just stay at home and do nothing. Like even if they do
rest
have
in their
kids,
femininity.
exactly. All of the stay-at-home moms I know have at least one side business, if not two.
Exactly. When I was a quote unquote stay-at-home mom, I was still like drilling with my reserve unit, and I like a defense contracting agency hired me to do some like nursing work at like $100 an hour, like to go do like fill in every now and then. So yeah, right. Of course, quote unquote staying home. You could call yourself a stay-at-home mom, but the IRS be like, no, you not. The IRS will call you something completely different.
Exactly.
So talk a little bit about traveling and dating. So talk a little bit about your dating experience in the military.
Can you repeat your question? I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Talk a little bit about dating in the military.
Oh, dating. Oh, wow. Yeah. that was an interesting experience because first of all, I recommend that you don't date anyone from your unit. That is the very first thing that I will say that I did not do, because I witnessed what happened after some people did that. So if you are going to date military personnel, date someone outside of your unit. For me, I had to date people outside of the Army. Like I could not date another Army person. I don't know why. I couldn't bring myself to do it. Maybe it was because I saw how the Army guys were behaving, and I didn't want to go anywhere near Marines either. So I kind of gravitated towards the Navy guys and the Coast Guard guys. They just seemed a lot more relaxed. They weren't too intense. They didn't take themselves too seriously. So it was fun. But it was also like, it's kind of scary, especially if you're dating someone who has a combat MOS, which was, my first ex, he had a combat MOS. So every time he was deployed, I was scared. And then when I was deployed, he was scared. So that's something that a lot of couples have to confront. If deployment does come up, and that's something you have to talk about, because what I witnessed a lot was people not properly planning, not properly being prepared. Even though they are in the military, they'll have a cushy job, they'll be staying home, and then they don't understand the dangers of what happens when we go into a war zone. They don't. A lot of people think that it's not, like, a lot of Americans don't understand exactly how dangerous a war zone is, because I don't know if it's just something they've never had to witness, and that's why they don't understand. So I feel like a lot of couples aren't prepared for the negatives of the military that have caused divorce, that have caused, just breakups with regular couples. So there's a lot of things you have to be prepared for before you decide to date another military personnel.
Yeah, I agree with you for not dating somebody in your same unit. Like I told you about that young doctor. I'm not going. We didn't really, he was very respectful. Don't get me wrong, because he was very respectful. But it could get messy. I'm a nurse, and I get exactly why we dated for that short period of time, because he had a very, very challenging, we both had a very different challenging shared experience. So it was more like a trauma bond for sure. And he had a lot of pressure on him. He was third generation West Point graduate, came out of Columbia Medical School. So we had the New York connection. But, and then again, you have to be like the face of like, at the time where there's all these yellow ribbon balls and USO fundraisers, and they want to hear all about it. And you're the officer. So you're the face, you're the PC part of this. And we just were kind of, again, like you said, it was a trauma bond. It was just not smart for us to do that, because it ended up getting real messy. Even though it never got really serious or physical, there were a lot of rumors going around, and it got messy more so for me because I was the woman. But again, we still keep in touch, but, and he did help me through the retirement process. He was at Walter Reed for a minute. He was at Launch Duel for a minute. But yeah, he was still a good guy, but it was a bad situation. So I said, next person I date is going to be outside of my, outside of my lane, because rumors get spread too fast. The Army's small.
Oh,
even if you're not doing anything. Even when I noticed like enlisted girls going over to enlisted guys' barracks, even if nothing would happen, especially black girls going to see black guys, they would just shame them horribly. So dating in the military, still vet, but one of the things I like to do when I had a young black girl soldier was like, hey, did you do anything with MWR, the Morale, Welfare, and Recreation? I was always like, go on a trip or join the bowling team or go on this. I was always trying to get them, because then they could meet other soldiers who had a good head on their shoulders, because you couldn't have any Article 15s and go on like the hiking trip or go to the Cowboys game, or go to the Spurs game. So I always suggested MWR. I don't suggest like not dating military guys, because you definitely are at a place where men are getting paid the 1st and the 15th, and the numbers favor you. So yeah, I'm not too good to let somebody buy me drinks. So I'm not too good to let somebody entertain me. Like, entertain me. I know you haven't seen a woman. Oh gosh, San Antonio, child. Thank the Lord that I had, like boundaries and good standards, because you come out of Howard where you were outnumbered, where the women outnumbered the guys like 6-1 or 9-1. But then, child, you go to San Antonio and it's like 70% man, and then already the city where the ratio already favors you, and then you have like, a big like archdiocese that have a lot of single men who are approaching 30. Child, I never had an empty dance card.
Beating them off.
Yeah. Because it was always a good opportunity for me. I wonder how I dropped the link here. Hold on. We'll put that link here because I see there's somebody here who might have some military experience. Now, as far as an enlisted person dating an officer or someone who outranks you too much, I would not do that. Here's why. They'll never be serious about you.
Ever.
Right? Never be serious about you. So you are basically just a bump in the road for that person. So, yeah, I would not, because I know a lot of times girls, I'm gonna get me an E6 or E7, or I was like, don't do that, because you're a bump in the road. And also too, that usually is not a guy with good character. A guy who's willing to risk his military career to get laid, 9 times out of 10 is not a guy with good character anyway. So if you're getting approached by E6s, E7s, yeah, you definitely don't want to do that.
I think of them as college men hitting on high schoolers. That's how I think of them.
Yeah, and some guys are really difficult on their female soldiers because they're trying to cock block.
Yes,
So
I've seen that. Mhm.
yeah, so that's one of the reasons why too I tried to suggest like my young soldiers do MWR because number one, it impresses your company commander. Like, oh wow, she's involved in the bowling team, or she's you know, doing the co-ed kickball, so she's ambitious. She like, and also too, it kind of gets you out of the circle of the people who all hang out together in the same unit and all hang out together at the same bar. It keeps your nose clean a little bit more. Um, um, yeah, hold on, I got Yoga coming back here. But yeah, dating in the military. Um, I got a funny story for you. I had this
Let's hear
one
it.
NCO. Her name was Sergeant Willis, and Sergeant Willis, she was hefty up top, and no offense to any of the white guys who are listening. Okay, I'm not gonna try to be offensive to you guys, but I noticed that y'all like that. So I was Sergeant Willis and I. We were supposed to go TDY to launch tool, right? So I was like, let's go out and have some drinks. And now I'm a talker, and if I go to the Riverwalk or something in San Antonio, I could get me a free drink. But Sergeant Willis on Margarita night, she can get a whole pitcher, honey, plus appetizers. She was stacked, honey. So finally, I'm like, what? I'm like, Sergeant Willis, we got to go out. She's like, no, I don't know. I think I'm watching DVDs in the room. And I'm like, honey, bring your titties because it is strawberry margarita night. We going out, honey. So, man, we would get so many like drinks, and guys always coming over, like guys who've been deployed for months or in processing. Yeah, like, oh my gosh, we would have a good time. And then when we went to launch duel, we ended up, I was like, let's go get a pass and see if we can go on a tour or whatever, and see Austria. So we wanted to go to Vienna. And let me tell you something. Song was in a tank top. Child, that's how I got my good crystal. No, seriously, because they would say something, 135 euros. I'm like, oh man, I don't want to pay that. So I want us come in there, 30 euros. By the way, what's your name? Blah, 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 blah. She got like free glasses, gravy boats, Christmas ornaments. I'm like, so I was in that tank top girl. I don't know what it is. Like, I think white men just like girls with like, who are chesty.
They do, because it's the opposite for black men. A big booty will get you a lot.
Right. But yeah, Sergeant Willis, boy, that's how I got my good crystal. Sergeant Willis wearing a tank top. And I used to always joke with her, like, what you talking about, Willis? You know? But yeah, she was, pretty gorgeous girl. Wow.
Oh my gosh, I'm reading her
Andre's
comment.
drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, you're fine. I was reading the comment on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
When I tell you that was one of the main, and see, I've been on charger, but I was like, how much juice I got? I got to get back up here.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because that was my thing, specifically overseas. Because I ended up joining in my mid-20s.
Mm-hmm.
If I feel so funny, I feel like I'm going to end up just saying all my tea on here, like everything about me. But yes, so I ended up joining later. So what happened was when I entered, at my first rank, I'm still in proximity to some of the younger airmen, and I was overseas. So what happens is a lot of the places overseas, the drinking age, is lower. So what would happen is people would do their thing, and then if say maybe they go to another base or in the States or in another country where the drinking age was different, and people would just be losing their ranks left and right over the drinking like that. I couldn't go out with people because I was always scared something would go down and I'd be at the wrong place at the wrong time. So, oof. And that's why I dated a couple, but like for the most part they were off base or the locals. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause I couldn't. People were okay with just ruining their entire lives over drinks and the prospect of,
just yeah.
You touched on it there.
I was trying to, cause I'm trying to watch my words too, but it just got a
Yeah.
little real. Like all my memories are starting to come back. Yeah, and just yeah. I'm really
Yeah.
just cracking up because I just remember like, or the higher ranking risking it all for that young thing. I just, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Let me go on mute because now it's all coming back, and I
No,
just,
no, you right. No, you are 100% right. I saw a whole first sergeant get knocked down to private doing that, messing around with
Lord
some
have
Oh,
girl.
mercy.
Girl,
wow.
yep, girl gets pregnant, tries to pressure the girl to have an abortion. She goes and she tells, what it wasn't like, what was the equivalent of like HR, like when you had, like
Dark.
EEO or what EEO, right? Equal
Okay.
opportunity. Yeah, she tell EEO, like he's trying to force me. He lost everything. I had to imagine what his wife must have felt like in the States when she got that first paycheck.
Mm-mm-mm.
Like, because I know he didn't tell her right away.
Right.
But you got to be real careful about the guys who would rather impress their boys than impress the brass. Those are the ones you got to watch out for. And I told in my D's adult children video, I talked about that, like what these guys be doing overseas, and getting real hemmed up, and they want you to be like, LT, come help me. Nope. What you, dude? You messing around with?
I felt so bad for them, like, cause I didn't even like I'm definitely lower ranking in comparison to everyone on the panel. Like I think I left as an E5, but I was in a lot of spaces, I guess, because of my age and everything. So I would be in a lot of spaces, and just some of the things I saw, some of those Black female officers, and just when people would get in trouble and everything, like they can't save you, and you shouldn't be expecting them to anyway. You don't respect them until then all of a sudden, you don't want to be like, yes, ma'am, and all that until it's time. Let me get back on mute.
No, you're right. That was constantly my problem. I mean, I remember even before the plane landed at my first overseas duty station, before the plane even landed, I got some guy calling me all out my name because he just saw a young Black woman and just felt that he could just call me all kinds of B and jealous and all this stuff like that. And I'm just trying to tell him, you need to be quiet. Like, yes, I understand that here is legal. Some stuff is legal here, but just because it's legal don't mean you need to let everybody know your business.
Right.
So yeah.
And also
don't put your business in the street.
Right. And I'm not going to even make it like that too hard, but let's just remember too what you look like compared to what the other people look like. With me being in Air Force, you don't get that same benefit. So in the crowd, if something's going down and they see you with some extra, some tan to your skin, you're going to automatically stand out. You don't get to do the same thing. Like, and I think too with the Air Force, a lot of us can get besides ourselves and think we think it's all the same. And specifically overseas, you're going to always stand out. So don't think just because you're wearing that uniform, people aren't seeing your skin tone. You're going to always stand out. You don't act like the American privilege always works for you, especially when you're doing dirt.
You know what's crazy for me? I ended up in units where there weren't very many Black people. So like I said earlier, Mokomami, when I first joined, I was a reservist and I was stationed in Nebraska, Elkhorn, Nebraska. Okay, so you can just imagine exactly how many Black people were there. In my unit, there were 3 Black people. One was Black American, and 2 of us were Sudanese. So, and that's even rare for Sudanese people to be in the military, much less be in the same unit. So that was interesting. And then my next one was El Paso, and then I was in freaking what's that state that nobody ever thinks about? North Dakota. So it's like, I don't know. I just didn't have a lot of experiences with Black men except during boot camp. That was it. It was so weird. And boot camp was in South Carolina, so that made sense.
Mm-hmm. And I'll say this really quickly too. When I say that, I'm definitely not saying that we there's no opportunities for us because your skin. I just kind of meant more like I just noticed that a lot of the men or the younger airmen, there was just this weird thing of because I'm in the Air Force, I made it and I can just do everything the same way the other people can do, and I'm like, no, you need to
Yep.
remember because actually for women, we don't necessarily, because again we're not really getting in trouble and all that, so for us it's not necessarily, it ain't the same thing, because we're not getting into debauchery.
That's
So
true.
if you're overseas
True.
and I think I just wanted to put, I didn't want anybody to be afraid or anything to join, because it was still I still enjoyed my time overseas. It's only when you want to get beside yourself and act like a stupid American, as some people would say, that's when you could be an issue. But I think it's just that when you depending on where you come from, when you have all this access out of nowhere on the strength of your uniform, and you being a clean shaven male because of the dress code, you're getting all this attention and you get beside yourself. And yeah, then you want some of the higher ranking women to play Captain Save, but you don't respect them either. And then when you start talking about that cock blocking, I when I tell you I got I said, how much juice I got on this device? Let me get up here.
Yeah,
So
that is
y'all
true.
y'all go ahead, Lizzie and Mocha Mommy.
No, but yeah,
No,
the
I want to hear it. I want to hear it.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, it's just okay. So I just noticed this thing too, where, and I'm gonna try to phrase this carefully, but it's like maybe they don't. It's not even a want. Like want you sexually, it's like a want of control. There's like this weird thing
Yep.
I experienced where the control was harsher. So it was like, if and this is to my brothers in arms, literally, it just felt like the heat was more intense when it came to disciplining a black woman that was underneath you, as opposed to anyone else, actually, even the men, the boys. That foot goes a little bit higher up your if you were a woman. At least that was some of the things I experienced. And I'm just like, what the heck? It's almost like having a father, kind of like I think in your video, Mocha Mommy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Having
the
a
overly
dad,
strict
but it's
dad.
more intense
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. When they have
Yep.
that absolute control where they can literally put you at attention. It's just, and then when you add the sexual element, like I said, that was something I witnessed a few times, and I just couldn't believe that. I'm like, really, really, But anyway,
No, you're right. It's like you get sometimes the overly strict dad, and you know who it usually is always that like platoon sergeant level, that E7 level or that O4 level who has a daughter your age. They are always the ones who are hardest on you,
mm-hmm.
black or like, don't let it be some full bird colonel mad that you got dressed up on a Saturday, or I mean, it's always. I mean, for the younger, and sometimes I would have to explain it to him, like, it's not because you're black, it's because I'm telling you, he has a 19-year-old daughter at home, and that's why he's acting the way he's acting. So, like, getting involved with the MWR and military sports, they're like, hey, this Spurs game, they're gonna have a military delegation. I don't like basketball. No, you're gonna go because this is gonna be your opportunity to get from under, first class such and such who's riding your behind all the time, giving you GI parties in the barracks because he don't want you on the Riverwalk. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's really what it is. He don't want you bringing home no babies. He don't want you with no STDs. He doesn't want you to have to go and get you out of, BAMSI. I'm sorry, the Brooke Army Medical Center because some boy done beat you up, because he sees it happen. And that's why they're so up your behind all the time. I dropped the link for Ayana Crew because I'm thinking you must be Air Force, right? I passed the naval officer exam. I never studied for the only. Okay, because I'm thinking because when you say they say they need officers and they're not accepting you, sometimes that makes me think Air Force, because I do know the Air Force does that.
So Air Force, very like they're like, we don't waivers, no, we don't need you. It's very
Yeah.
we're doing you a favor. At least that's
Yes.
the recruiting office. It's like first of all, good luck even catching them because they know people want to join, quote unquote. So they're like, oh, I can get to them. Let me go on mute. Let me go on mute. Let me go. On mute.
No, you're right. You are so right. Because I think Marines and Air Force definitely do that because there's a few of the proud, so they don't have to work that hard to recruit. The Marines, their class, they're I don't know if they call them Class A's, but their dress blues or their Class A's, whatever, that does a lot of recruiting for them. Trust me, they show up in those dress blues. That does all the recruiting for them, and then they don't ever, and it's hard to make rank there too. But Army and Navy, I feel like they pursue people a little bit more, and you have a little bit more options playing those two off against each other.
Job wise, definitely, because I was in the DEP program for I think 2 years, or the delayed entry program. See, I don't even remember my acronyms anymore. But yeah, and it was very much, if you want to join, you can, but it's whatever. I'm sitting here going like, what the heck, But the delayed entry program. See, I don't even remember my acronyms anymore.
Okay, I only have to mute your YouTube.
Yeah, if you want to join, you can, but it's whatever. I'm sitting here going, I sound crazy. I'm hearing myself in the playback.
No, you don't. You sound great. You're being honest. You are honest.
I think, and you know what? I think that is why, I wanted to do this because I don't really speak about these things at all, unless every now and then I'll talk to a family member. But again, we have lives going on, so a lot of this is just in my head, and now I'm in certain spaces, I'm really reflecting. So when I found your content and when you started tapping into that military stuff, I was just like, woo. And then I found out Lizzie here, Lizzie Rance here. I was also, because I just found her channel too. And I'm just like, oh gosh, it's all coming back to me.
How did this go into the military? What was the
Hi,
time?
Anna.
Hi.
Hey,
and go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to know, when did y'all, Sisters in Arms, because I thought y'all was talking about something else and then y'all went into military stuff. I just thought I'd ask.
No, I'm really glad that you came up.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So I started this channel back in February, and I noticed a lot of my subscribers are literally half my age. So, and they would just put these questions in the comment section. I started putting my email up, and then I started doing Ion Mizra's Discords. And they were asking a lot of career questions. So, but I would go to my comment section and I would see women who were in their maybe mid to late 20s, early 30s, doing a better job at answering the questions, because I kind of felt like that too. On my 1,000 subscriber video, I'll have maternal advice, but then you guys would be the cool aunties who could relate to what it is I'm saying, but still respect the emerging womanhood of what my core demographic is. So, I mean, because I could talk about stuff back in 2001, but some of y'all won't hear in 2001, So, yeah, that's why I appreciate it. I was I'm going to have to start having more panels with some women who've been there.
Yeah.
Even if they're not expert this and credentialed that, or they'll just be hey sis, I've been there and this is what I wish I would have done different, or this is one of the things you need to watch out for.
Well, I don't think there was anything really hard for me in there because I went in old. I was 28 when I went in, and I was I'm going to travel the world because I was traveling the world and it was so expensive. So yeah, that's why I went in.
What branch of the service were you in?
Oh, I was in the Navy.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And did you get a lot of educational opportunity, career opportunity?
Not really anything that I wanted to do at the time. It wasn't until recently that I found out what I wanted to do, and I really enjoy it. But when I was younger, I was just trying to do healthcare.
Okay, that's good to know. So what did you do in the Navy?
Oh, I was a corpsman, like a hospitalman or...
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I did. And it wasn't nothing new to me because I had already had a 2-year degree as a vet technician. So it wasn't new. So I kind of skated through, and then it was easy, because I was already old. So, yeah.
So did you do like SLRP, the student loan repayment program? And also, did you date any Marines? Girl, because I heard stories.
Did I date any who?
Marines.
Oh, no. The Marines, I had to do, what is that thing where you do with, I forgot the name of it, where you got to run with them. The Navy runs with them. It's like, I forgot what it's called, green side. I think they call it green side.
Yeah.
Blue side. But I had to do that, girl. I couldn't. Ooh, Lord. I treated them like little babies, and I got written up for that, and I almost went to captain's mess, and because they were my little babies. These are young boys. You know what I mean? So they were all my babies, and they pretty much took me to DRB because I was treating them like children. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I learned quick what I was dealing with in there. Mm-hmm.
It's hard though. Like I at least I struggled with that. Like even when I got my first troop, it was just it was awkward because you because first of all, you're not, the age difference isn't so extreme sometimes. Or even the same, and that could get really awkward because I'm like you, Ayana, was it? Like 'cause I joined in my mid-20s. So I was a little older too, and so what would happen
we old people.
I'm over here being a troop, or like I have a troop that's maybe only a couple of years younger than me.
Yeah,
and
they didn't know how old I was until I told them, and then their ass fell in line because I was like, "Look, I may treat you like a baby, but you're gonna get out there and you're gonna fight. You're gonna get out there, you're gonna fight." So,
I think I was too soft. I would put the foot down every now and then. But
you have to, but
it was awkward because I didn't have like. All my cousins were around my age. Like I always tell people, I never had young people around me. Like even like everybody around me is around the same age. So for me, it was like, so I never really babysat or anything. So it was so strange. And I don't have any children either. So it was so strange because you are accountable for them like they're your children.
I know. And then I would have to deal with them playing with knives. They play a game where they throw their knives at each other and catch each other.
Oh no.
I mean, but the thing that I did with the Marines was I didn't crush their manhood. That was really important for me not to do. I'm a female and I'm going to rule over them, but I wasn't trying to step on their manhood. And I think that's why they fell in line real quick. And they would show me if they have an issue with their penis. I'm like, take the shit out. Let me see what you got. I wasn't playing. No, you're going to go out there, going to fight, and you're going to respect me. So that was it.
Yeah. And I just noticed that too. That's kind of when I realized how many of our men in particular, like black men in particular, have mommy issues. You're not my mother. Like, whoa, I'm not your mother. But I'm the OIC of the TMC. So don't come bring me your STDs. You know what I mean? Don't do that.
They can't be doing the exercise if their dick burning and itching.
Like, don't do that. Like,
Yeah, but you can't tell them that. You just have to patch them up because I'm a corpsman, so I patch them up and I put their ass right back on the line. We ain't playing that, baby.
I'm just saying, like, especially when they would come back to you multiple times, like, I gave it to you. And like, look, let me tell you something.
They're boys.
Yes, I understand. And I understand. And it's like my heart goes, and my heart goes out to him. I'm like, listen, okay, she's not your girlfriend. Okay, this is a transaction.
No, I never got involved with that. I never got involved with that. If they came to me and asked me about a female, then I tell them a general. I ain't trying to get involved with their private life. I just want their bodies healthy and their minds on the mission.
See, that's where I was
get involved with that.
I want to know about you, like, and I know that might have made me not a great one, but I was like, listen, don't go to jail. Don't let me have to get, because I only had one boy, I believe. And he had a long-term relationship, I believe, in the States, so that kind of kept him, reared for the most part. So, but some of the things I saw with other people, DUIs, a SARC issue, just crazy. And I was just like grateful. I'm like, whoo. And then the other one was, I believe she was married. So I was like, it was just great for me. I was pretty good, but some of the things I observed was just, whoa, Nelly. That's all I gotta say.
I got loan repayment and I got loan forgiveness. So I did qualify for all those things because I did well on the entry exam. You have to take that what is it called? ASVAB. Yeah, but I already had a college degree. So it wasn't, I was like, look, let me just click on, I Christmas treated and still did well. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing about it, the ASVAB, that can really determine your bonus too. Even if you do have a degree, like go take that test because it can determine your bonus if you go the enlisted side.
Yeah, that's what I did. I was able to get all the bonuses and everything, even though I Christmas treated, because I just got tired of reading the questions. I was like, is this for real? It felt like, I don't know, for me, it felt like 8th grade stuff. I was like, oh, Christmas tree, Christmas tree. I just got tired of reading it because it was like 100 and something questions. So,
right. Do you remember the questions with all the gears and all of that? I'm like, what?
Yeah, that's I forgot. I think is it spatial recognition?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just got tired of the exam. It was a lot of questions. After like 60, I just started Christmas treeing it. And I guess what I did from the beginning was enough to get me over. So I was like, oh Lord.
Yeah, it's the GT score, like the general knowledge scores. And then again too, if you did really well, then they would take you to another room and have you do the linguistics test.
I wanted to do nuclear, but I think my math was not the greatest. I needed to be on the 12th grade level. I was only on a 10th grade level. And that's been throughout my life. I'm really horrible at math. And so I wanted to go nuke. But then I just got so tired of the exam. I was like, you know what, screw this shit. I don't need to be in the military. And I still got in. I was like, damn, it can't be that serious. And I told boot camp, I told this one chief, she was yelling in my face. I was like, bitch, it can't be that serious. Oh no, that was the wrong thing to do.
What happened after? I have to know what happened after that.
Screaming and yelling and shit. I'm like, bitch, it ain't really that serious now, is it? And everyone heard me, and I felt so bad after that because, you know, I'm older, she's older. I should have, I shouldn't have done that. But yeah, that kind of attitude followed me throughout my military career. I ain't even gonna lie. I was like, look, that's why they were like, you're gonna go with the Marines. And I still got in trouble there. So as you can see. So
I had a drill instructor every time. To me, it wasn't the words, it was the face. And he would always be like, welcome to Pushville, population U. Get out. Child, I didn't even have to wear a bra. They stood straight up from all them push-ups. Yes, I had to do a lot. Yeah. But I mean, it made me like be more in control. And also too, I had a very thick New York accent at the time. And that definitely got me like picked on quite a bit.
Well, what's the New York accent? I'm from New York too, and I don't understand what a New York accent is. What, do we bust off at the mouth quick? Because I bust off at the mouth real quick back then. Now I don't because I'm more chill, but
I think like the way we pronounce certain vowels, it kind of offends people in the South. Like for instance, when we say water and coffee, that was the two that would be in trouble a lot. Water and coffee. No, it's water and it's coffee. You know, like, and like the way we pronounce I mean, it was very offensive to like some people, especially like in the officer ranks, because there's a little bit more etiquette that's involved. They definitely, and because it'd be like you, and it'll be some dude from like Missouri with a twang, and then it would be like somebody like somebody like my husband who would have like a, Puerto Rican, still American, but would have that accent. And like, you can't tell a difference sometimes. My husband's nickname in our post used to be Ricky Martin.
Wow.
Yeah. They used to call him Ricky. And he would hate to like do things like speak in public and call because of his accent. So yeah, his nickname was Ricky. Yeah. And even so, even when he got interviewed for his first GS job, they were like, oh, so you speak Spanish? He goes, Spanish is not the issue. English is just the problem. But yeah, I mean, I think maybe because the etiquette that they kind of maybe expect of officers, you could kind of get, they want you to be very aware of your accent and your mannerisms.
That's so petty, but
yeah, I've heard officers in the Navy speaking like they come from, wherever they come from. So I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I spoke to officers anyway. I had a young doctor ask me what we should do, and everybody was breaking out in Cuba with these lumps, and they had to the doctor was like, "What should we do, Kathy? What you think we should do?" I was like, "I think we should listen. We should do what you want us to do because you're the doctor." Right. Right back on him because I was like, look, young man, you went to school for 8 years. You better pull out something out of that bag of tricks. So
Right, yeah. And I had said that, like the medical inexperience. Like
I mean, I didn't make him, and whatever he said, I just did it because, you can't trample on their manhood. That'll get you discharged.
True.
You better be careful.
Yeah, like that inexperience you would see a lot of times in the medical field, because you could have, like I said, you could have a brigade surgeon who's 28. So the highest ranking military officer just got out of medical school 4 years ago. Like, especially back then, like, when they were promoting everybody left and right, like in the early 2000s, because there was a war going on. It's a little bit harder now, but I mean, they just like a level of inexperience that you would see. Or if you would have a reservist get activated, and Army have him on the books as general surgeon, but in the civilian world, he's ear, nose, and throat doctor, and he haven't seen the inside of somebody's behind, to pull out these pineidal cysts. He hasn't seen that in years, since medical school. So yeah, it was Army. Yep. Yeah, military medicine is something. It's something.
Well, I went in there healthy, even at 28. I went in there healthy, so I'm so happy. By the time I left, though, I was broken. I was like, look, y'all gonna pay me for the rest of my motherfucking life. Sorry. I'm sorry. But
no, you're right.
As they should.
They broke me so bad. Oh my God. I'm like, ugh.
And that's the thing for me, like the fact that veterans have to fight, like you practically, I was talking to a relative the other day saying how you basically have to be destitute and missing everything, all your, like, it's just heartbreaking.
But I've seen other people of, I'm not gonna. Well,
we know.
Yeah, so they can go in there and get 100% really quick.
Very true.
I mean, I get it, but
they must have connections, because even though I was injured in Afghanistan, I didn't get more than 20% for maybe 2 years, maybe 2 years.
Yeah, and then they take it back. So it's like now you're getting sicker because you're getting older, and you're like, this could have been because of your military service, and they don't want to make the connection. So they keep giving you, then taking it back and it's really hard.
You basically, you have to document everything. Like you stub your toe, you better go to the doctor.
Yeah.
And just make sure that's like written. Because, I have relatives who've gone through that and just,
I've seen one girl, she went in, she didn't have much wrong with her. And she got 90-something%. I was like, how do you get 90%? And that's not a lifelong thing. And it said permanent and total on her thing. I was like, damn. And, she was one of the,
Yeah, membership has its privileges.
Because I understand, too, like, with the, not to get too crazy with it, but, like, just with the VA. So I understand it's, like, a lot of times, I feel like that's a lot of times where we unite, too, because everybody gets the smoke as far as, like, proper ratings a lot of times, too. Because I have seen it with everybody, but even still, I get what you're saying. What can I say? I can't say names today.
Well, it was trying to tell me how to go about doing it, and I'm not like, you shouldn't cheat the system. I mean, you're strong, you can work. Just go and why take from other vets that really need it? They don't really care.
That's the hurtful thing. It's just like
they don't want to work, but everybody else is lazy, but they're the ones that don't want to work. Trust me.
Oh, well, see, now that's unfortunate then, because that's, I just be sometimes, because when I used to volunteer at certain places, I would just be hurt because I would just see how, because sometimes older people too who are veterans, they'll just start talking, and I let them. Unless I really have to bounce, because I know they need that. And just some of the things I've heard, and I'm like, really? Like, pay them what you, because for the most part, in my heart, I don't believe people are like finessing like that. And I didn't say, and I'm not saying you said that. I'm just saying in general, like you would think that they're putting they're on guard because they feel like everybody's cheating the system. And I just in my
Yeah.
heart, I don't believe it. Especially just since all of us have seen it, that a lot of people really do need that help.
Right, it's true. And sometimes it could be something that's not physical but mental and they can't articulate it. But anyway, ladies, I'm going to have to get final remarks from you guys because I'm going to have to end this live.
Sure.
But yeah, I just want to say, like, as far as the VA, I think Roadrunner 89 left the best thing, and that was to make sure you contact your local DAV, because a lot of times membership really does have its privileges, because I got mine in like a year because I did have advocacy. And also too, I think Texas too is just much more military friendly, and the Texas VA system out in Waco, they do not want to have that reputation of not treating their veterans well, because they're such a huge part of their voting population. So anyway, I'll just take final remarks from all you guys, and then we can end the live. Okay, you want to go first, Lizzie?
Yeah, I can go first. My main advice, especially for young ladies, is to research everything, every single branch of the military if you are thinking about joining, and also have a plan before you even go in. And to be honest, I was one of those people that didn't have a plan. They offered me a $20,000 bonus, and I was 20 years old. I'd never seen that much money. So I was like, okay, let's do it, And you also need to keep in mind that, with the state of the world, you could end up in a very dangerous area. You could, not survive it. It's something that you have to be honest with yourself about, especially when you're young. You think you're invincible, and you think you can do all this stuff, but a lot of 18-year-olds died in Iraq and Afghanistan, so you're not invincible. And when you join, I would recommend that you keep your head down and to stay the entire 20 years until retirement. If you are finding fulfillment in your service, if you're not, get out as soon as possible. That's all I was going to say.
Okay, Yogo?
Nope, I co-sign basically all what Lizzie just said. I would just say too, if you do get the opportunity to go out of your state, and be stationed somewhere, even overseas, just take that opportunity. Even if you don't really think you wouldn't travel, you don't have to necessarily, do the whole 80, around the world in 80 days. Just, venture out locally. Now, of course, do it safely. And I'm really happy to have been on this panel. Thank you, Mokumami, and to everybody on the panel. I'm happy to have gotten to talk to you ladies. And that's all I got to say, until next time, basically.
Thank you. And Ayana?
Hi. Yeah, I just want to say, I had a friend that went in, he was older too, and he was a lot older, but he made the age cutoff. And like I told him, I was like, when you go in there, just understand that no one is your friend. These are people that you're working with. You have a mission to accomplish, and you need to understand that no one is your friend. So keep your mouth shut. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, and I would say focus on your goals, focus on your money, because there is money to be made. And understand that what your military specialty is not going to determine your civilian life. You determine that. So make sure that you stay on your goal, you stay focused, and keep your eye on the prize, because there's going to be a lot of trash coming at you. But make sure you stay focused, because this could be an opportunity of a lifetime if you leverage it correctly. So thank all of you guys for coming and joining and adding your experience. And I really hope that it helps someone make the best, most informed decision. So thank you guys, and have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye, ladies.
Bye.
Bye.